Some of our flashbacks are just so funny when you read
You're all set. Thanks, man. What kind of dog do you have?
Our message is the same everywhere. We are open to dialogue, but renewed aggression against Ukraine would have drastic consequences. Because we see no signs of de-escalation on the military level. Quite the opposite. The Russian troop deployment continues. In Belarus, up to 30,000 soldiers have been conducting military exercises since yesterday. Some of them in close distance to the Ukrainian border. On Wednesday, Russia announced another large-scale exercise with missiles and artillery in the Black Sea. We must therefore be prepared for all scenarios. Intensive consultations with our partners and friends are currently underway. The situation in Europe is critical. We are therefore continuing to make all efforts to find a diplomatic solution. That is exactly why the German Chancellor is travelling to Kyiv and Moscow on Monday and Tuesday. For today, talks are scheduled between the French and the U.S. President with President Putin.
U.S. President Joe Biden told Russia's Vladimir Putin during an hour-long call on Saturday that a Russian invasion of Ukraine would bring a decisive and swift response from the West. Biden also said such a move would produce widespread suffering and diminish Russia's standing in the world. The two men spoke by phone in the latest effort to avert hostilities, just a day after Washington and its allies warned a Russian invasion could happen any time. Russia continues to deny having any such plans, saying it has amassed more than 100,000 troops near the Ukrainian border to maintain its own security against aggression by NATO allies. A senior Biden administration official said the call was professional and substantive, touching on all the issues the U.S. has raised in public, but added there was no fundamental change. The official said it remains unclear whether Putin is willing to pursue a diplomatic path. Earlier on Saturday, the U.S. State Department ordered most of its embassy staff to leave Ukraine, adding to its call on Friday for private citizens to get out of the country within 48 hours. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan.
We want to be crystal clear on this point. Any American in Ukraine should leave as soon as possible, and in any event in the next 24 to 48 hours.
The Pentagon said it was withdrawing about 150 military trainers. More countries told their citizens in Ukraine to leave the country immediately, with Israel, Portugal, and Bulgaria joining the list. Several thousand Ukrainians rallied in Kyiv on Saturday to show unity amid fears of an invasion, as Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky told people to remain calm.
The best friend for enemies, that is panic in our country. And all this information that helps only for panic doesn't help us.
In a separate call on Saturday, French President Emmanuel Macron told Putin that sincere negotiations were incompatible with an escalation in tensions over Ukraine, France said. Washington says it plans to send 3,000 extra troops to Poland, Ukraine's western neighbor, in coming days to try and help reassure NATO allies. They are in addition to 8,500 already on alert for deployment to Europe if needed, U.S. officials have said.
Your job, you're going to stand alone. Yes!
Standing against your own children's rights.
Who are you protecting? Who are you protecting?
Hey!
Who? Who are you protecting? Someone tell me right now who you're protecting.
This is an obvious, this is an insurrection or, terrorism. This is grassroots people with their children and their grandparents and parents coming together and saying, hey, you know, my rights and my freedoms are being infringed and denied here.
All of you to do the Macarena right now.
What happens when we come back next week? You guys gonna be here and stop it? Who are you protecting?
Hey!
Who? Who are you protecting? Someone tell me right now who you're protecting.
A key bridge linking Canada and the United States began to be cleared of protesters Saturday by police, more than 12 hours after a court order went into effect to end the blockade that has disrupted international trade. The Ambassador Bridge, North America's busiest land border crossing, had no traffic flowing for the fifth straight day on Saturday morning. About 15 trucks, cars, and pickup vans blocked traffic in both directions. Police in black uniforms with yellow vests, accompanied by police cruisers, slowly advanced on protesters, pushing them back from the bridge entrance. The number of demonstrators had thinned to roughly 24 early on Saturday, from about 200 on Friday night.
This is an obvious, this is an insurrection or, terrorism. This is grassroots people with their children and their grandparents and parents coming together and saying, hey, you know, my rights and my freedoms are being infringed and denied here.
Canadian protests have inspired similar convoys and plans in the United States, France, New Zealand, and Australia. In Paris, French police fired tear gas at demonstrators on Champs-Élysées Avenue Saturday, shortly after a convoy carrying protesters against COVID-19 restrictions made it into the capital. Meanwhile, the protests in Canada have morphed into a wider protest against COVID restrictions and the Canadian government. Smaller crossings in Alberta and Manitoba have also been affected. The estimated loss from the blockades, just to the automobile industry, could be as high as $700 million, based on IHS Markit's data.
These blockades cannot continue.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has come under pressure from opposition party leaders to intervene, while U.S. President Joe Biden's administration urged his government to use federal powers. Trudeau promised Biden quick action to end the crisis.